Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 65 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Digital Federal Credit Union, better known by all of us as DCU. And whether you're driving off the lot or refinancing, DCU can help you save on your next auto loan with rates as low as 1.49% APR. That's right. If you're looking to replace your wheels, DCU can help you with your next auto loan with rates as low as 1.49% APR. You can learn more at dcu.org/auto. Insured by the NCUA, membership required. Well, he helped me start the Mistress Carrie podcast what seems like a lifetime ago. Episode 1 of the Mistress Carrie podcast was released on June 10th of 2020. And when I launched the new podcast, you know I had to go to my old friend Brent Smith from Shinedown. Brent and I go back over 18 years now, which is just shocking to me. Brent is one of the most positive people I know. And in the height of the lockdown, he was a calming voice that was trying to keep people together and keep people positive. Well, he's also been very busy with his bandmates during the lockdown, and there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. This coming Friday, their feature film based on their 2018 album Attention, Attention is being released. You'll be able to find it on Apple and Google, and it'll be available on video on demand everywhere. In this episode of the podcast, Brent will tell you all about the film and how they pulled it off. But they also have their 7th studio album in the works. And I got the dirt on that too, at least as much of it as he would tell me. Plus, Shinedown's getting ready to go out on the road this fall. And with new variants of COVID-19 still wreaking havoc, there is so much pressure to stay healthy and keep the tour going. Brent and I talked about all of that and so much more. We talked about songwriting and our military. He could literally be on every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, and I would be totally fine with that. You'll find links to find Brent, the band Shinedown, and more information about the Shinedown film Attention, Attention in the show notes of this podcast. You'll also find all of my links as well, and the link to the corresponding playlist for this episode, which rocks. It's kind of strange to have guests coming back for a second turn on the Mistress Carrie podcast, but I am so happy to have them. So allow me to introduce you, again, to Brent Smith from Shinedown.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
What is going on, young lady?
Well, hello, Mr. Smith. How are you?
I'm way better now that I'm getting to talk to one of my closest friends on the entire planet.
I am so excited to talk to you. I know exactly how long it's been since you were on the show because you were on episode 1 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, and now this is episode 65, and it comes out every week. So it's been a little while.
Hey, you know what? I'm super, super honored that I was first, and I'll take 65
You got a lot going on, my friend. And, you know, when you and I first met way back in the day when the first Shinedown record came out, could you have imagined that you'd be getting into film?
Well, I always try to say, let's do one thing at a time. But yeah, I think there was a part of me that hoped that it would go in that direction. At the beginning, I was just trying to get our first record off the ground.
Yeah, and now you got a movie coming out on Friday. This is kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's also a 3-year journey with this particular project. You know, Attention is the 6th album by Shinedown, and it was always from day one, once we figured out that the album was going to be a story and a conceptual piece of work, the goal was always to show the visual aspect of it because, and we kind of borrowed a little bit of the approach from Quentin Tarantino and Pulp Fiction, some of attention to the viewers, because we were working an album, and it was our first conceptual record. And so as we were touring and we were releasing material and singles and stuff like that, people were starting to notice that the videos had the same characters or the same people in them, and that with certain things were tying together, and they were going, well, what's going on here? And obviously we had made the point that, well, eventually you'll be able to see it in its entirety. But it took a tremendous amount of work, and it took 3 years to be able to get to this place. And, you know, once Gravitas Ventures, the production company, came into the picture with ourselves and management at Indigoot and Atlantic Records, and our director, Bill Yukich, this was something where this is for real. And, you know, Gravitas was super on board with it, and here we go.
When Attention came out, we talked before anyone had even heard the full album about the fact that it was based on a story. And I tried to get you to talk to me about it, and you said you didn't want to because you wanted people to kind of experience it on their own and kind of have the idea of what the story was before you kind of told them what the story was. And now 3 years later, the cat's out of the bag because we're all going to see the movie on Friday.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that, though, too, is that with the album, it was always for us, to the listener and to the audience, because it was a story about a lot of different people from all walks of life. Attention is about the fact of it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, whether you're younger, whether you're older, you know, your religion, your ethnicity, your background, none of that matters. We're all individuals. And it's also a story about not being afraid in your journeys in life, because you're going to have multiple journeys in your life. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of that. You're not going to be defined by your failures in your life. You're going to be defined by the fact that you chose to never give up. And so it's a story about a lot of different people, but for the audience and for the fan base and just the people listening to the music, obviously on a record you're going to have your favorite songs and what have you, but if you want the experience of the record, it's meant to be listened to the way we wanted people to hear it, was you put your headphones on and you push play and you listen to the story, and it has a beginning, a middle, and a finale, but it never really has an ending because it's about the next step. And at the end of the record, I say, you can hear me say, till next time, which is what we're kind of known for. We don't say goodbyes. We just say till next time. But the visual aspect of this is such a roller coaster ride for people. I mean, I've seen the film over 500 times because I've been involved in the editing process with the director, myself and Barry and, you know, Eric and Zach. We've been there with Bill Yukich, the director, from day one. But it took a lot of ingenuity on his part to not only assemble the cast of people that are involved in this film, but also all the people in the crew and the people behind the scenes and all of the camera operators, everybody that was involved in the wardrobe, the product lines of certain things, the location scouts. Like, there's so many people involved in this. I mean, this was the real thing. I mean, I remember when we shot the Attention song for the record too, we were having to put all these things together. We shut down 4 city blocks in Los Angeles, California. Shutting down 1 city block anywhere takes a lot of permitting and there's a lot of red tape. Shutting down 4 in the middle of Hollywood is a totally different animal. So the fact that he was able to, you know, call in a lot of favors from friends of his and, you know, the studio magic and the Hollywood magic that we got to witness with this was rad too. There's an element of CGI in some of the film, but it's done very tastefully. But a lot of it is full on, like the stunts you see, the action that's involved in this, these locations and what have you. That's all being done by us, the band, and these incredible men and women behind the camera, and also the crew of the cast members that we had. I mean, everybody just went head first into this project.
I didn't watch it yet. You sent it to me, but I am not. Yeah. I didn't want to watch it until after I talked to you because I wanted to have in my head all the things you're talking about right now while I was watching the movie. And I'm so excited to see this passion project for you that you've been working on for years. But with everything going on in the world right now, it seems like this is the absolute perfect time for this to come out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super fun for people. It's meant to be, when you watch it, we want you to have fun with it. It's so, it's a bit unorthodox with how we present it to the viewer. One of the things that kind of sparked the relationship between us and Gravitas Ventures, the band and our director, and why Gravitas was interested in it was they said to us point blank, they go, well, we've done a ton of stuff with musicians and documentaries and, even musicals and thematic, elements in regards to the movie industry and what have you. Gravitas is a wonderful, wonderful company, and they've done some highly, just incredible pieces of work in the industry. And that's why it was a big deal to work with them too. But the point was for them was they said, we've never seen a band put a record out that is a conceptual piece and then kind of put out the singles with the visual, but it's part of a bigger story. And then you work a cycle, you play in all these shows over the last 2.5 years, you've been supporting the record, and then all of a sudden, after 3 years of work, then you decide to put out the entire visual of this 3 years after the release of the record. It's really like the second act of the album, which is the film. They said, we've not seen anybody do that. And that's why they were intrigued by it. But once they started to watch it, and once they started to get our vision of how we wanted to present it to the public domestically here in the U.S., but also internationally, they were full on, they were on board, because it's not a feature film in regards to the timing of it, because it's about an hour and 10 minutes long. I mean, technically in the movie industry, they think of a feature film as roughly 90 minutes at least, but this is definitely a feature film. It's definitely a complete roller coaster ride visually, and I think people are really going to have fun with it. Also, it's a fun watch. I think people will want to watch it over and over again because they'll miss things the first time around, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make something exciting, action-packed, and just super, super fun to watch.
You talk about the live shows and the touring that you've done since the album came out in 2018. And when you and I talked last, which was in June of 2022, or no, excuse me, in June of 2020, the world was a different place. And you went from these massive attention arena shows to not being able to play shows at all. Then you went and did some of the drive-in shows, and you've been riding this ride with COVID, and now you're getting ready to take the band back out on the road again. How has that journey been for you since you and I talked last?
It's been inspiring, and it's been humbling, and it's made me appreciate not only our fan base, but the people around us that work with us in this band to allow us to do what it is that we do. I have to give a lot of credit to the fan base, though, because they have supported us day one. That's the thing. Me and you spoke about this, a lot. We're in a pandemic that everybody is involved in on this planet. This isn't about one country or one section of the world. Everyone's dealing with this. So you're trying to find the humanitarian side of things, the moral side of things, but also trying to be respectful of the dynamic of as human beings, we have to move forward. We've got, we're not going to let a virus win. We can't. It's not the first virus in human history. But that being said, I think that's been said at length, and people understand that we have to move forward, but we have to move forward together. So, it was never for me about, I couldn't put my head in the sand. Me and you talked about this a lot, during, last year. It was about being respectful, but the thing is we still needed to get back out there. We still needed to show people that, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, we're going to get to the other side of it. But we had to be very specific. And, we just did 8 shows a couple weeks ago. And, look, right out of the gate, we're in rehearsal, and Barry, who is fully vaccinated since April, he had a breakthrough infection. And it took 11 days, after he was positive, to get a negative test and a clearance from the doctor. And he missed the first 3 shows of those 8 shows, and then he got right back out there with us. I got to give credit to Dustin from 6 a.m. who came in and really saved the day for those first 3 shows of the 8. But like you said, too, we were coming off of attention, and, in arenas and what we were doing globally with that. But we also, it was crazy. Those last 8 shows, we played in front of 163,000 people in 8 days, and we're getting ready to do 5 weeks. I leave Friday, actually, the release date of the film, September the 3rd, to head to Pittsburgh because we got 2 days of rehearsal before we go out full band with the Struts and Aaron Jones and 0936. We're doing shows, and that's a different world now that we're having to navigate also, and being respectful of, everybody's got to be healthy. Everybody has to, we have to create a bubble backstage with these other bands, and everybody's on the same page of that. But, we're still not completely out of the woods yet with COVID. I think we're getting to the other side. But at the end of the day, man, for musicians and anybody that's going to go out there and tour and put themselves out there with these large audiences, the audience is there because they want to be there. You know what I mean? No one's forcing them to be there. And, we want to give them the safest environment that we possibly can. But, on the musician side of things, it's our responsibility as performers to do what we need to do backstage and make sure that we're healthy, make sure that we're following protocol so that we can conduct these concerts and be safe about it. But yeah, man, we're all trying to get back to living life and celebrating through live music.
I've been talking to a lot of musicians about the business end of trying to navigate touring during a pandemic, and some bands choosing to do meet and greets and others not because of that bubble you're talking about backstage.
Yeah, I don't think it's a smart idea. Not right now. I don't think it's a smart idea to do meet and greets.
You look at an artist like Jonathan Davis from Korn, who's back on the road with an oxygen mask on the stage because he's still struggling with some of the lung issues from having COVID, and he was vaccinated. So you run that risk that if somebody pops positive, or a few people do, you got to shut a tour down. That's not a cheap thing to do.
No, it's not. And, speaking on Jonathan, I'm going to tell you something right now. That dude is necessary. Point blank. That guy has my absolute respect because, look, we all know what's going on here. Obviously he got an infection. He got cleared to go back to the road. We actually just posted something about him the other night on our Instagram on Shinedown, just telling everybody in Shinedown Nation and around the world, just, send all your love and your positive energy and your healthy vibes and your healthy energy to Jonathan because, look, man, he doesn't want to cancel shows, and, he is, he has shedded the virus, but he's chosen to go out there and perform for people because he doesn't want to cancel the shows. But on the other side of that, you really got to look at the fundamental side from a medical point of view and a scientific point of view. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't think Jonathan is either. But at this stage in the game with this virus, 20 months into it, we know for a fact that what you can't do is if you do get an infection or you do have a breakthrough infection, even if you're vaccinated, is you still got to continue to take care of yourself. And, kind of sitting around and not being active, you've got to exercise, you've got to eat right, you need to be going to the doctor and making sure you're getting, 6 months to a year physical, and, for Jonathan, he's out there because he's like, yo, I got it. I got through it. I haven't, I'm negative now. I've shed the virus, but he's got some, long haulers syndrome that we don't think he's going to be dealing with for too much longer because he's choosing not to sit around either. He's like, I'm going to get back out here. He's not a risk to anybody. He's out there playing shows to get his blood moving, to get back into what he's doing. If it takes him a few shows, sitting down here and there, then so be it, man. But the guy's not, he's not punking out either. He's out there, he's out there with the fan base that are there to see him, and they're supporting him, and I support him as well.
And he's got asthma too. So, I mean, when this pandemic shows up, anybody with a chronic challenge like asthma, what's scarier than COVID when you're already dealing with a respiratory issue? And you know what? To see him with a giant throne and an oxygen mask, he just looks like such a fucking badass. I can't even handle it.
But he's not doing that. Here's the thing about him too. He's not doing that. Look, I've had the pleasure of meeting him over the years quite a few times and playing shows with him. That guy's one of the most genuine human beings on this planet.
Agreed.
He's not doing that to get sympathy.
No.
He's doing that because you know why he's doing that? He's doing it because that's his job.
Yep.
Like he's out there. Yes, we're all artists. Yes, we're creative. Yes, we love that aspect of what we're doing. But when you're in a band or any performance type of art or artist, your job is to go out there and perform, and that's what he's doing. And for me, when I look at that, I got nothing but respect for him. And ultimately, though, I think that you've got to understand that you got to take responsibility for yourself during situations like this. And it is important for people to be educated and understand, as we get on the other side of this, that it's something that I think that the media really needs to start not talking about. The fact that in America right now we have an issue with obesity. It's like media doesn't even want to talk about that. And it's like, look, man, this is a real thing, and we need to be encouraging people to get healthy, not, shaming people, or that's just ridiculous, but we got to talk about it. At the end of the day, we need to be focusing on lifting each other up and encouraging each other and educating each other and getting this country and getting this world healthy again.
Well, judging by the Instagram posts you're always putting up that I stalk about your sweaty, shirtless workouts in the gym.
Yeah, I'm complete. I'm such a ham.
Well, not only have you been doing that to keep yourself occupied, but I want inside information, Mr. Brent Smith from Shinedown. I want to know, is the name of the upcoming album Shinedown 7? Is the single really coming out in January? And when's the record coming out? Give me inside scoop. I need to know.
So I will give you that the album is definitely coming out next year in 2022. January does look like the setup for the first single. No, the record is not called Shinedown 7. We're only calling it Shinedown 7 because it's the 7th record. And that's kind of all I can tell you at the moment. We're working super, super hard right now, making sure that we're ready to go at the top half with the new record at the beginning of 2022. But I will give you a little bit of an insight on, we're kind of known for, our records have a certain kind of, they differentiate between each other because of the color palettes that we use and stuff.
Yep.
I could tell you that we are looking at using quote unquote royal colors on the new record, which I know you know something about because you love the color purple.
Mm-hmm.
So little insight there, that we're kind of working with some royal colors, if you will, on the next Shinedown record.
Does that mean you got to make some custom sneakers for Zach again, the sneakerhead of the band?
Well, the thing about that is Zach and, Jumpman, they have such it's pretty incredible, that relationship that Zach has with Jumpman, and obviously his love for Jordans and what have you. So I can't really speak on that. I know there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, but I don't really know everything. But you never know with that guy.
Since you and I talked on episode 1 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, that sounds like so long ago, a question started coming up, and I've started asking all of the artists and songwriters that I'm fortunate enough to interview, and I have been dying to get you back on the show so I could ask you this question. From a songwriter's perspective, regardless of era, genre, style of music, artist, that does not matter to me. I want you to give me some examples of what you consider perfect songwriting, songs that you love so much that you're like, I wish I wrote that song. But I want you to break down as a songwriter why it's such good songwriting.
That's a great question. Wow.
Thanks, Brent. I might get good at this eventually.
I mean, yeah, you might have a career here, young lady. There are so many, to be honest with you.
I know, that's why it's a hard question.
It is. Now, do you want like one specific song, and not necessarily that they're, for me, like the end-all be-all or whatever? You want a few examples?
Either way, however you want to answer it, but I want you to give me, not just because you love the song, right? But I want you to give me examples of what the structure of the song is that makes it such a good example of good songwriting, in your opinion.
So I'm going to pick one particular song, not that it, has precedence over any other, song in my my catalog or what have you. But with this specific of a question, I would have to go with Soundgarden, and the song would be Black Hole Sun. And one of the reasons why is because I was fortunate enough to meet at the beginning of my career and the band's career, I was able to meet a guy by the name of Michael Beinhorn. Michael Beinhorn is the producer of the album Super Unknown by Soundgarden. And so when I met Michael, one of the first things I asked him, because obviously I was such... That record changed my life. I know it changed a lot of people's lives. But that is, for me, probably one of the... It's definitely in the top 3 albums of all time for me. But so Michael told me the story about Black Hole Sun and how that came about. And ultimately, how it came about was Michael was working with the band. They were already kind of deep into the recording process. They were starting to kind of figure out songs and what was going to go on and how the record was going to be sequenced and all of that. But what Michael was kind of missing from the songs at a certain time in the album process is that he had not felt like Chris had presented what he was capable of doing in regards to his voice, where Chris had this great range, and the songs were super grind and big guitars, big drums, Loud Love and, everything on Bad Motorfinger and things of that nature. But he said, man, he basically went to Chris one day, the night before he went to, this is way back in the day, you got to remember, like when CDs were prevalent. So he went into, I think he went into Tower Records. They were recording the record, and I think they were in LA at the time. So they go in, or Michael goes in, and he buys every single Frank Sinatra record that they had, every single one, and brings all of these CDs, big pile of them, the next day to the studio, and they do their work and everything like that. And at the end of the session, Mike goes into Chris, and he was like, "Here, I got you these. I want you to listen to this." And so Chris looks, and he's like, "Frank Sinatra?" He's like, "Yeah, man. Like, I just want you to listen to it." And so he said, a couple weeks went by, this and that and the other, and then Chris brought in this song, and he started to play it for Michael Beinhorn. I hope I'm getting all of this story correct, and I'm trying to get to your question, but if I don't preface it, then it won't make sense. So then Chris shows Michael this song, and he starts to sing it, and the guitar line starts, and that gorgeous voice comes out, in my eyes, indisposed, in disguise as no one knows. And what's interesting about that is what Michael had done is he had given Chris homework by listening to Sinatra. What was Sinatra? He was a crooner, ultimately. And a lot of the Sinatra songs, like and if you don't know what crooning is, I know you know, but like your listeners may not, go look it up. It's a technique in singers. And it is to engage the listener from the top of the song, not to get them 15 seconds into the song, not to get them a minute into the song, get them from the first note. And by listening to Sinatra, he had kind of been inspired and kind of borrowed that ideology of kind of crooning. But then when you get into the song, you realize how incredible the structure is and how the build is. I'm going to throw a word out here, and I don't care. It's incendiary, but that song is like orgasmic. You know what I mean? And it starts off, and it just sucks you in the beginning. And it is verse, essentially a pre-chorus, and then it kind of softly starts the first chorus that engages you into the vocal and the words and also the melody in the first chorus. And then as it goes to the second part, it starts to build and it starts to build. And then it reaches this crescendo to this incredible solo. And then it comes back around, and it's just the overlaying of the vocals, the way the production of the song is put together, and the climax of, you know, the crescendo of the end of the song and like how it's presented to the audience. It's just a brilliantly well-crafted song. But it's also, you know, coming from a guy, meaning Chris Cornell, who was already a genius. You know, he never wanted to be called a genius or a savant or any of that. But he was. And, you know, that is one of the purest example of just one of the most groundbreaking songs in modern human history.
I knew your answer to that question was going to be good. I knew it. I knew it. Before I let you go, when I had you on the show last time, and every time you've ever come on my radio show or you and I have ever hung out, one of the things that you and I have always bonded over, and the band Shinedown the same, is our love and support for our troops and our members of the military and our veterans community. And you've gone overseas, played shows on USO tours. You know, I've been overseas with the troops. There's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of things going on in the news. And there's a lot of veterans that are feeling like maybe their service was for naught, and they're feeling kind of adrift, and there's a lot of regret and there's a lot of sadness. And so before we go, I wanted to give you a chance to talk to our troops and veterans so that they can hear from you what they mean to you.
Well, the first thing that I would say to all the men and women of all the armed forces, especially the veterans, is thank you. Not only thank you for everything that you continue to do through an immense amount of adversity, but thank you for the fact that in this country we have freedom, and not only freedom to be who we are, to have opinions, to love who we want, to live the life that we want as long as we're willing to work hard for it. But what I would say, obviously we're all watching what is going on in Afghanistan and what's going on with the Taliban and what's actually happening over there. And ultimately people have different opinions about it, but the way that I look at it is these men and women that have sacrificed their lives, their families' lives, everybody involved, we as a country would not be as strong as we are if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for every single one of you in every branch of the military. And myself and everybody involved in Shinedown will continue to support you, will continue to honor you, will continue to love and respect you, and will continue to do everything in our power to always make sure that you are celebrated and that you are honored. Because without you, this country doesn't exist. Without you, the moral compass, if you will, of integrity and the human spirit, in my opinion, it wouldn't exist. You have selflessly donated your time, your bodies, you've given everything. And all I can really say, and I want this to be known, is that we support you through and through. We will always support you, and we love you dearly, and we'll always be here for you. And thank you for everything that you have done, everything that you do, and thank you for protecting us and allowing us to be free.
Well, Mr. Brent Smith from Shinedown, I am so excited for everything that you guys have been working on, and thank you for coming on the show, not only on the first episode, but back again. And the only thing now is I can't wait to be able to hug you. Like, I miss our hugs.
I'm trying to think of when we're going to be seeing each other. I know that I'm trying to look at the dates right now when I'm going to be close to you, but it's very close in the future. I can't wait to put my arms around you either, young lady.
I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see the movie. It's available video on demand this Friday. Attention. And I'm going to make a giant bowl of popcorn. I can't wait to check it out. I think it's such a cool idea, and I think Shinedown fans are going to absolutely love it.
Thank you so much. Again, too, you can pre-order it right now. It comes out September 3rd. You'll be able to see it on iTunes. You'll be able to see it on YouTube Movies. You'll be able to see it on Google+. You'll be able to see it on Amazon Prime. And you can rent it or buy it. It's on video on demand, a bunch of different satellite on-demand subscriptions and what have you. So whatever your services are, you'll be able to find it on demand. So thank you so much for the support, young lady. I can't wait to, once again, wrap my arms around you and give you a big, giant hug.
Me too. Right back at you. I love you. Good luck with everything.
Love you too.
And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, my dear. Have a wonderful day. And again, thank you for everything. I'll see you soon.
Oh, and by the way, on a personal note, thank you for the happy anniversary message on my anniversary over the weekend.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was very sweet.
How's everything going there?
Everything's amazing. I just celebrated my first wedding anniversary, and he's been deployed for about 11 months of my marriage so far. So if they...
Oh, my gosh. When does he come? Like, when do you see him again?
I don't know when I'm going to see him again, but he's supposed to be home hopefully by the end of the first quarter of 2022. So if they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, the heart is very fond.
Hey, I totally understand, and I can feel you on that.
And
where
are
you?
He says hi, by the way.
Tell him that I said hello, and I'll make a video and send it to you here in a little while. Just giving him, what's up. You can send it to him, but tell him I said hello.
I definitely will.
You still, where are you at right now? You still based in the same area? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I built my studio. You would love MCHQ. I got posh accommodations. I'm on the air on dozens of stations around the country. I got my podcast in 114 countries, and I'm taking over the world.
Dude, you are so badass on so many levels. But whatever we can do to support you in every aspect, you let us know, and we got your back always.
I just want the hug, man. I can't wait for it.
Well, it's coming sooner than later. I can't wait to see you.
I hope so. All right, honey, I'll talk to you soon. Have the great rest of your day, and congratulations on Friday.
Thank you, sweetheart. Love you. Talk to you soon.
Too. Bye.
All right, bye.
There he is, the one and only Brent Smith from Shinedown. Do not miss Shinedown's film, Attention. It comes out this Friday, September 3rd, 2021. And you can find it everywhere. Apple, Google, video on demand. All the links you need to get all the details are in the show notes of this podcast. Brent Smith's links, the band's links, the movie's links, my links. You can even listen to the corresponding playlist, which is filled with not just Shinedown Attention, but all the music and artists that we talked about in this episode. I do it for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and follow the Mistress Carrie podcast so you don't miss anything. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus every weekday. Get caught up on all your rock news, music headlines, and industry info in less than 5 minutes with the Situation Report. The Sit Rep can be found right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast. Thanks again to my sponsor, Digital Federal Credit Union at dcu.org, and make sure you check out the official online Mistress Carrie store at mistresscarrie.com. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern on my Facebook page for Cocktails in the War Room. The Mistress Carrie podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.